Today we're checking out the ultimate Godzilla Supernova trailer breakdown because there's still a lot of information to get into. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to GojiCenter, and let's get into it.
On this episode of GojiCenter, we pick apart a teaser that is taking the net by storm. There's a lot to cover and speculate about, but real quick, today we're going to be discussing possible speculations about the plot of our next MonsterVerse adventure. So, take everything here with a grain of salt.
I missed this, bro. I missed them popping up that warning and me just taking it all as fact anyways, just pissing everyone off. A lot of it's gonna make sense,
especially since our agents haven't managed to break into Legendary HQ just yet. So, we might be as surprised as you are later on. So, join us on this road of speculation. Sit back and get comfortable, smack that subscribe button, and let's get rolling. We start this teaser trailer seemingly set inside a Monarch call center to report in Titan sightings, something that'll really be relevant later on. We see news reports and graphics in the background giving us a bit of a sit-rep on the situation around the world. Not only does it look like multiple Titans have gone active or are remaining active on the surface, but the world itself seems to be changing. The Great Pyramids of Giza, the oldest and only wonder of the ancient world still around today. Constructed over 5,000 years ago, the largest towering even over Godzilla. Tombs and mausoleums to ancient kings were the tallest in the world for nearly 4,000 years, and someone is making them into a casino. Either because they're trying to relocate after the female Muto tore a hole through and terraformed Vegas, or because nothing is sacred anymore. It seems like the casinos are bankrolling, turning the now destroyed Great Pyramids of Giza into new attractions. Whether this is just another tech bro Ponzi scheme, or if they are seriously going through with it remains to be seen. The design with the glowing portions reminds us an awful lot of the Iwi pyramids in the Hollow Earth, with their gravity alteration properties. Does this imply someone is trying to reverse engineer some of their lost technology? Who knows? There was a portal outside of the area right in Egypt when Kong came popping out of it after all. We are also told that reconstruction on Rio is ongoing after the multi-monster melee in the last movie.
By the way, we didn't really think about it watching that. I want you to go back and watch that final scene. Just calculate how many thousands of people must have been massacred, bro. Like, there's gonna be some serious depressing undertones in the next movie, I imagine.
Build teams have gotten very good at putting things back together down south after Behemoth plowed through the city during Ghidorah's onslaught. On the desk of apparently a Monarch employee, we can see the same kind of merchandise we have on our workspaces. And just like us, they seem to be snarking to their coworkers over totally not Discord. There's also notes to keep correspondence with several characters we've already met in the franchise. Trapper and Dr. Andrews from the last outing are named. Monarch Director Hamilton alongside Dr. Stanton returning from King of the Monsters, and surprisingly Dr. J. Jorgensen from the Monarch Declassified comic.
I didn't know Dr. Stanton was coming back. I didn't pay attention enough. That's actually generally kind of good news.
Now, this would be one of the few times parts of media outside of the films, that being the comics, got acknowledged in the actual movies. The canonicity of the extra material outside of the films has been lukewarm at best for most of the MonsterVerse's lifespan. We've spoken about conflicting information such as the disappointing apparent retconning of the Muto Prime, so see that video for more info.
And now so much of the stuff doesn't even exist because now it's only one Godzilla existed. The Great Kong vs. Godzilla war never even happened. Awful, awful stuff, really.
However, this kind of Easter egg might imply some more communication across MonsterVerse projects. Last time we saw the aforementioned doctor, she was working in a Hollow Earth base studying the possibly reviving head of Tiamat. And considering both Rick Stanton and Jorgensen dabble in Titan communication, we might see that as a relevant plot point in this next outing. Perhaps Lahamu might be reunited with his resurrected mother now.
Ooh.
We can also see a note on paper with several letters and numbers, GSXO 3262-027. One possibility is this is implying some kind of important date like 0326-2027. But this combined with the numbers could mean a lot of things. We can also see a photograph of Dr. Alan Grant. Just kidding. Sam Neill is soon to join some of the rare alumni that have been in multiple monstrous franchises. And his image here implies his character will probably have some kind of ties to Monarch. We like to think it's a natural fit for Grant after all. But alongside the merch we mentioned earlier, like the Keep Kong and Carry On mug spoofing a statement from the World War era, we did notice this little piece of merchandise you can't get a hold of.
Bro, I'm so stupid. I thought that was Keep Calm. I didn't say Keep Kong. Oh my god, I've seen this like 1,000 times. How did I know it said Keep Kong? What the hell?
Online. This Godzilla figurine is clearly the legendary version, having the same ridges around the eyes and lack of external ears that the Toho versions often have. But this is not how the G-Man looked in the last movie or any look prior. While we can only tell so much from the simplified style, this Godzilla does look noticeably chunkier, in a return back to the more robust shape he had in the first couple of movies. Sources did note that Godzilla's evolution to stop Scar King's army was hurried, and he likely burned a lot of energy doing it. With things settled back down, at least for a short time, he might have put back on his bulk from before. One thing we did also notice, however, was his dorsal spines. Much like many of the Toho versions, this figurine seems to have ivory-colored spikes running down his back. A white-colored version of the evolved form inspired by Godzilla Ultima was considered for the prior movie, so we might be seeing something similar in this new outing. On the computer monitors near the figure, we can see rapid-fire binary code dashing across the screen. When translated, it comes out as Godzilla Kong. Watch this space. We'll dig in a bit more on this specific moment in the next section, which is definitely important considering Trapper's actor Dan Stevens posted this exact line. This, alongside the later alert talking about something severe arriving on the scene, definitely implies a colossal threat, on par with the major disasters we've seen in the past, like Ghidorah, a mass event of multiple Titans going active, or both. The number on screen, 240-MONARCH, that's 1-240-666-2724 for anyone confused on how numbers to letters work on a phone, is part of a new alternate reality game being set up where people can report Titan sightings. Yeah, you can actually call this number. Here, take a listen.
Thank you for calling the Monarch Community Support Hotline, your global resource for Titan response and relief. Your help reporting Titan sightings plays a critical role in keeping our world safe.
The trailer ends with the aforementioned alert and Godzilla's roar, set with both the title and a story background. The latter certainly implies we are going galactic with some of the next threats for an adventure in the Monsterverse unlike any other.
I know we've touched on that phone number before, so I didn't talk much right there, but I feel like that is a really efficient way to mass report Titan sightings. Like, that's pretty legit, you know what I mean?
Let's backtrack a little bit and analyze a few of these images a bit more. Something to note is that a few of the alerts in the teaser are dated to this year, whereas the last outing in the franchise actually took place a couple of years in the future. A few have been confused by this and thought maybe we're getting a flashback sequence for this movie or some kind of prequel. We, however, think until given reason otherwise, this might have just simply been an oversight by the teaser developers. If the movie is entering production now, then what we are seeing is probably not going to be a major sequence in the movie, and was likely brewed up specifically for the teaser. The fact that the 2025 date is roughly at the same time the teaser was released further makes us think this is the case.
This is why I don't over-examine a lot of stuff. A lot of crap is just thrown out there randomly, and it's never even what's actually in the freaking movie, so I'm bad at over-analyzing trailers. And now I'm freaking happy I am, because this would have just confused the crap out of me.
In other words, don't read too much into the date, especially since Rio and the pyramids are being rebuilt. Otherwise, this is just a major retcon and a deplorable debut of this new outing.
Yeah, that wouldn't even make sense, but years before, I don't get it.
When we left off in the last movie, our titular Titans and their allies were arguably at the best they ever were at. Godzilla's enjoying a new home after evolving into a new power greater than anything he had before Solo. Mothra is back in action and likely protecting both the surface world and Iwi Nation. And Kong is enjoying his status as a liberator and champion of the Great Apes, lord of his armies, with both an adoptive son and sidekick in Zuko and a powerful ally in Shimo, set to rule over areas of the Hollow Earth as King Kong. The human side of things, outside our main cast, however, well, that gets dicey. World governments are wanting more and more in the Hollow Earth, and Monarch might risk being stretched thin. And with a new power player on the scene doing what she did prior, we might be at a tipping point even as Scar King's cold, shattered remains thaw into monkey soup. Shimo might be a typically docile and calm Titan, but she is still a massive powerhouse and carries immense destructive potential, with some of the most destructive ones being at Rio, Hong Kong, DC, and Boston. With this kind of escalating devastation, even if the blame could be mostly put on groups like Alien Titans, Apex, and Scar King, numerous governments around the world will say enough is enough. It may not be Monarch's fault these kinds of brawls are happening, but within a decade, the world has gone from virtually no monster attacks to constantly escalating ones. More benevolent kaiju like Behemoth, Mothra, and Kong might be off the hook, but potentially devastating destroyers like Amulek and Rodan have been at large for years.
Rodan!
The attempts at anti-kaiju weapons like the Oxygen Destroyer, Mechagodzilla, and the Titan Hunter might have been just the start.
Oh my god, dude, I totally forgot about the Titan Hunter. I forgot that goofy contraption even existed.
All this devastation would encourage just about every government to remain anything but idle. So we expect even more sci-fi tech to try and even the odds, or incursions into the Hollow Earth for assets and resources, either for defense or, as one of these Showa-era movies was titled, Destroy All Monsters.
Oh.
But we don't think humans will be the primary threat for our main kaiju characters this time. When people are in tough situations or looking for a chance to get ahead, they'll often try to take advantage of any strength or opportunity they see, no matter who is offering it. And there are some possible villains who just might make the offer. Both the space-themed title and text from the trailer is a pretty good hint that we should heed the advice to, watch this space. It may not be a coincidence that this is the same kind of line you would see out of a 1950s or 60s alien invasion movie. So far, King Ghidorah has been our primary introduction to aliens in the Monsterverse. But just like the Showa era that legendary series seems to be taking a lot of cues from, we don't think the one who is many will be the last extraterrestrial. What you're looking at is a supposed leaked set photo, courtesy of Mr. Goji54, showing an unusual lighting array in a wide open space with a lot of lights.
Oh, come on, man. This can't be how I found out there's freaking aliens in the next movie, right? Not this.
Possibly a clue. This sort of setup is to help establish consistent lighting for the actors' scenes when filming a CGI light source above them to be added in later.
Okay.
What we see here could be simply just physical lighting for a CGI Monarch craft, or it could be something not of this world at all.
Oh my god.
The fact the trailer put focus on Sedona, Arizona, a place long associated with alien lore, to the point they host regular night vision UFO tours, might be implying a few things. Yes, this might finally be the time to introduce alien races into the series if they're ever going to take that route. And one very common through line from the Toho films is that the aliens often act as infiltrators, either looking human and faking benevolence or pretending to be human with disguises to set up their operations. And if the M-Nebulans could get away with setting up a fake theme park with a Godzilla-shaped laser cannon to summon up monsters from deep space, and we're in a setting where pyramids can have fantastical powers, that renovation at Giza may or may not be something much more sinister. As for who it is that might be coming from outer space to threaten the world yet again, there are several possibilities.
They're saying a lot of insane things right now, but I hate that it all does make a good amount of sense. I don't think the Monsterverse would go this crazy because they're a little bit more grounded in, but also not grounded at all.
It's always possible we might just get an original monster, and at that point, almost anything about it is effectively unpredictable. However, with Toho pushing forward massive plans to get Godzilla into the spotlight more and more, there might be some changes to some of the talks between them and Legendary about bringing in more of the roster. Toho monsters like Rodan and Mothra have been showing up more often in recent Monsterverse projects. The second DC crossover comic, for example, after some confusion about the rights, briefly led to Mothra getting replaced with an original kaiju, Phosphera, during the production of the last movie. So, an original monster can never be ruled out. But time seems about right to bring in some of the old guard, and one Cyclopedia slasher makes for an obvious pick. Gigan has enjoyed something of a comeback in recent years on the recent anniversary of the Cyborg Kaiju's first appearance back in the 70s. Gigan is easy to recognize and will fit into any story involving aliens sneaking onto Earth. Some of the clues we've seen in this teaser might be related to parts of their original movie. Long-distance communication with towering structures, possible aliens disguised as humans, the possibility of a 2v2 monster brawl. Gigan could fit the mold like a hand to a glove, even if they don't have any hands. But there is another, perhaps more popular pick. The prior movie was supposed to involve something of a tag team match with Godzilla and Kong squaring up against a villainous counterpart. That comparison works fine for Kong and Scar King, but with Shimo going through some redesigns and being established as pretty docile when not coerced by a certain tyrant, the main shared physical attributes she has with the G-Man were lessened. She might have started out as an Ice Godzilla when talked about in the concept phase, but the final product wound up taking cues from polar bears and the Gamera villain Baragon as much as it did Godzilla. And with statements that they want the plot to focus more on Godzilla after Kong enjoyed sitting in the protagonist seat for the last 2 movies, it only makes sense now to introduce an evil distortion of the surface world's Alpha Titan.
I'm gonna be honest, I thought Shima was more based off like a cat or something. I just do not get polar bear vibes from that thing at all.
Supernova
You know what I mean?
cast member Alicia Debnam Carey did post this particular string of images in their social media alongside the trailer.
How could people be allowed to just post that kind of stuff?
2 women sending a call about something involving a shooting star and dinosaur. Could easily be a misdirect, or it could be a clue considering that is exactly what happened when Mothra's Fairy sent a warning about the arrival of the titular villain in Godzilla vs.
Yeah, it seems like a huge
Space
spoiler.
Godzilla. And if you needed to hint to the audience that the antagonist is an evil counterpart to Godzilla, you can't get much more clear. And considering this crystalline opponent from the 90s would pretty closely match up with the aesthetic of the energy crystals we see abundant in the Hollow Earth, and the supernova-like energy in the title card has some resemblance to the shockwaves created when the pyramids in the last movie collided together, there might be some connections being made.
It could even be those crystals colliding sent out some kind of signal into space that drew Space Godzilla. There's so many ways you could go with it.
This infamous piece of concept art showing a winged Godzilla firing at numerous titans could be interpreted as everything from just a creative depiction of Godzilla and Mothra's symbiosis to a particularly powerful individual the Iwi legends thought of as evil in early drafts of the 2021 film. Zosla Halawa, the monster that ate a star, could be referring to just the Godzilla we know and love, but with how the individual we saw changed as much as he had with exposure to new radiation and able to absorb DNA sources from other kaiju, who's to say a similar creature didn't exist in the past? One who adapted and grew differently, less an arbiter of balance and more a conqueror. In the next movie, we could finally be looking at Godzilla's doppelganger coming from outer space, perhaps taking the form of an animal that looks very similar to Godzilla. Almost like if these 2 organisms from outer space and Earth met at this form via some sort of intergalactic convergent evolution. Our Godzilla against their Spacezilla. There is also the matter of Godzilla also possibly taking a new form once again. We say this for 2 reasons.
Whoa.
One being what all corporations lust for the most, sales. In this case, toy and figure sales. And 2, the last few outings starring the G-Man have all had the lights in the title card reflect something about his dynamics in the film. Cold blue to contrast with Kong's bright orange in their first crossover. Then sharp magenta and pinks to reflect the evolved state in the last movie. We've been covering the Monsterverse for 4 years now, and we're starting to pick up on a pattern. If this trend continues alongside the possible hints in this trailer, we might be looking at Godzilla taking on a brand new form yet again. While this is great news for toy and merch sales, this might have dire consequences in the plot that could risk making the aliens not the worst possible threat. We've seen what happens when a version of Godzilla absorbs too much power. And if it is Godzilla who ends up eating a star, that being a form of extraterrestrial power, we could be once again looking at the most powerful version of Godzilla yet. Though this also comes with some applied bad news. The word supernova sounds cool and all, but perhaps not all people know what it is. All stars eventually meet their fate. At the end of their very long lives, they can collapse in on themselves and become black holes, or they can blaze and burn into a supernova, an extremely violent, and many would say a glorious spectacle of explosive force that is the aftermath of a dead star. Emphasis on the word dead. Now, hold up.
It reminds me of when Human Torch goes supernova and he almost like destroys everything. It's exactly. They're making a lot of sense right now.
We'd like to think that this is just an implication of the energy released by a supernova. A very marketable name for Godzilla's new state, but we can't rule out the possibility that we are looking at the beginning of a new chapter of the Monsterverse. As they say, sometimes for something new to be born, something old has to die. And what a perfect way to start a new trilogy. Let's not jump to conclusions. We'll keep you posted as more information about this new film comes out. You know what to do. Subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Can't believe how bad I am at noticing details, bro. I can't believe I didn't notice it says keep calm and carry on. Even Dangerville pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, keep calm and carry on. Jesus, man, that's crazy. I have the observational skills of like a piece of crap. So a lot of new information's been put in my head today. We already kind of all assumed it was going to be Space Godzilla, but I never really thought about Godzilla taking on a new crazy form in this as well. I thought it was going to be like some Avengers Assemble type business where they all roll up to defeat the big bad boss, but honestly, I'd still kill for another bigger Goji. Plus, they do need to sell more Godzilla toys, so they gotta make more Godzillas. Either way, this video was freaking awesome, bro. Let me know what you guys think down below or in my Discord, because now, honestly, we got like a year countdown before it goes down, so it's gonna be pretty sweet. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to GojiCenter, and I'll see you next time.